It's 3rd and goal. Richardson running left, blockers ahead. Richardson gets in! Touchdown! Rodgers in trouble, can't take a sack, and he does! 5 seconds, 4, and that is how the game will end. Quiddy Pay, the exclamation point for the Colts.
Hello everybody, this is The Pocket Passer. I'm your host, Randy White. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day. I know I am, because we're talking about football, and more specifically, the embarrassment that is the New York Jets franchise. The only thing almost as embarrassing as the New York Jets season is my inability to spell the word embarrassment. I wish I was kidding. I had to Google how to spell it when I was writing my notes. Anyway, yes, I did graduate high school somehow.
What an idiot!
When you look at the New York Jets and their issues, it starts at the top and it goes all the way down to the bottom. It's just a disaster everywhere. But I'd like to emphasize starting at the top. Woody Johnson is a guy who does not appear to know what he's really doing. Firing Robert Saleh 5 games into the season was a disastrous decision. I understand a 2-3 start is disappointing, but since then they're, I think, 1-5, which is so much worse. I know you guys know how to do math, so you already know that. Don't have to tell you, but this is a complete disaster of a season. Everything that could have gone wrong for the New York Jets has gone wrong for them this year, and they have underperformed beyond our wildest imagination as to what could have possibly happened badly. At least that's the truth in my case. I predicted them to do very, very well before the season. I'm not going to get specific with my prediction because I'm embarrassed, but I predicted them to do, let's just say I had them having more wins than they have, and we'll leave it at that. When you look at how the Jets have built their team, they focused on making flashy splash plays. They went and got a bunch of receivers. They are terrible in run defense. Although Quinnen Williams is amazing, they don't have a whole lot else to speak of in that front seven as far as run defense. The injury to C.J. Mosley has been a disaster for them. So although they did have him when he was healthy, they don't have any depth anywhere. So as soon as C.J. Mosley goes down, let's just not defend the run for the rest of the season. So they can't do that. Their pass defense is slipping due to it. And then they get rid of Robert Saleh, a defensive mastermind, and they expect their defensive coordinator to step into the head coaching role and still be able to prepare his defense as effectively as he has been, and also expecting the new defensive coordinator to do as good of a job as Brick was doing. Well, didn't happen that way, so their defense has gotten dramatically worse. The attention to detail, dramatically worse. Now let's look at the offense. Can't pass protect and can't run block. Tight ends can't run block. They have a hodgepodge group of receivers. Allen Lazard banged up. He's their best blocking receiver, so that hurts the run game. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who, as big of a fan as Aaron Rodgers as I am, he's my favorite player. I do have to say, him going to Egypt in the middle of the offseason and missing, although he missed very little, missed a couple practices. When you look at a team that is as bad as it is, you got to be able to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and you better be able to say, I didn't miss anything. I didn't leave a single stone unturned. I covered all of my bases, and we are the way we are because we're simply not good enough. It's not because of a lack of preparation or a lack of effort leading into the season. I don't know that you can confidently say that with the Jets, and that's a huge, huge bummer for me. I'm going to continue to defend Rodgers because I think he's getting too much blame, but there is no question about it that some of this blame does fall on his shoulders. They expected to bring in Davante Adams halfway through the season and for him and Rodgers to just magically have the connection they had 3 seasons ago. That should have been a pipe dream for everybody. I got super pumped up when they beat the Patriots because I forgot they were playing the Patriots. And I went, oh, they're back because the offense looked good. Well, that's the last game their offenses looked good in, besides a couple flashes in the pan here or there where Rodgers and Adams connect and make a cool play. And I'm just sitting there hoping that they can turn this around because, again, I'm a huge Rodgers fan, grew up watching Rodgers. He's the reason I fell in love with football, watching him play football for the Packers, light up the Bears, light up the Vikings, lead the Packers to a 6-game win streak to end the regular season, to go make the playoffs, beat the Giants in the wild card, beat the Cowboys in the divisional round, and then inevitably get stomped by the Falcons. But still, that was a magical year, one of my first years watching football, so those memories very fond to me. So he's always going to hold a special place in my heart. So to see the way this is going now is a huge downer for me, and to have to put some of the blame on him is an even bigger downer for me. With that being said, majority of the blame I don't believe falls on his shoulder. I really think that firing Robert Saleh was an irresponsible and idiotic move by Woody Johnson. They're 2-3. They lose a heartbreaker against the Vikings in a game they were clawing and scratching to get back into, and they almost get back into it. Rodgers throws a game-ending interception in the game. He throws 3 picks in, by the way, which is something he never does, but he throws 3 picks in that game, including the game ender when they had a shot to go win it down 6. And at that time, the defense has been playing pretty well. Fire Robert Saleh, fast forward a couple weeks, defense has completely collapsed. So that's a huge problem. The Jets offense has honestly been playing better, and had Robert Saleh remained on the staff as the head coach, and had they continued to have faith and say, hey, we're going to push through this. We got a bunch of veteran guys. Let's stick together. Let's push through this. Let's figure it out. If they would have done that, I guarantee you the Jets would have at least 2 more wins right now, if not more. They'd probably be in playoff contention, if not in the top of the bubble or the top of the hunt. That's how I feel about this situation and how horrible the decision to fire Robert Saleh was. Demoting Nathaniel Hackett, great decision. Rodgers is buddy-buddy with him, obviously. Nathaniel Hackett's his best friend. There is a issue with potential nepotism in the Aaron Rodgers situation. He's brought in a lot of his buddies, many of which not really great football players in the backstretch of their career. I understand that guys like Randall Cobb and Allen Lazard are probably great locker room guys that are glue guys. But at the same time, forcing them to come over and have a role now. If it had been a situation where Rodgers was playing last year, who knows? Maybe Cobb is a little more productive than he had been. And maybe Lazard definitely would have been more productive than he had been last year. Lazard was putting up some numbers in fantasy football this year until he got hurt. So I think there's a real possibility Lazard would have been productive last year. With that being said, still a little sketchy, and Lazard was definitely overpaid for what his skill set is. The offensive line, despite all their spending, all their efforts in the offseason, is still terrible. Tyron Smith is a complete shell of himself. He can't block anymore. Again, like I said, offensive line can't block. And when you look at what this Jets defense does well, the list is pretty short, but you can kind of narrow down what they do poorly to 3 things, and I have those written down. They don't tackle. That's huge. They don't block, like I said, and they don't execute. Lack of attention to detail offensively with route spacing, concepts, getting the ball out on time at times is an issue. Pass protection, again, disrupts a lot of that. And just not having the rapport in with these guys. Rodgers and Garrett Wilson have looked sharp over the course of the season. Garrett Wilson having some of the best numbers of any receiver in the league at this point in the season. But just a disaster everywhere else. And now Joe Douglas getting fired as well. So they're moving on from him. Woody Johnson, reportedly, I just read, suggested that Rodgers be benched after week 4 because he wasn't playing well. What, you think Tyrod Taylor's going to do better? I mean, maybe. Screw it, I guess. But I don't think that's a good idea. In my mind, what the Jets have to do... Hey everyone, I hope you're all enjoying the video. If you are, consider smashing that subscribe button. Over the last 90 days, 98.8% of viewers on this channel are not subscribed. If you're enjoying the content and considering changing that statistic, it would mean a ton to me. I appreciate all the support. Now, back to the video. Is they have to, in their best interest, keep Rodgers. Hear me out. Keep Rodgers. Try and get a new coach. Let that new coach, preferably Mike Vrabel, go in there and say, I am going to build this team in my vision. Woody Johnson needs to step off, let someone with a true vision take the reins, let Mike Vrabel get some guys in there, get a general manager in there, let him take control of the operation and have his vision take place. And the reason I say keep Rodgers in there, here's what you do. You draft a quarterback or you trade for a cheap young guy. You bring him in there and you leave him as the backup. Rodgers will possibly play another year. I don't believe he's going to retire this offseason. I don't think he wants to go out like this. I think he still believes he's got more in the tank. I think he's shown on tape that he potentially has more in the tape, although he's kind of a statue back there, and he's only capable of really extending plays and getting out of the pocket when he's 100% healthy, which is really tough to maintain with this sorry offensive line. So if they can get that fixed, get a new play caller in there, because the offensive structure is terrible, and some of that is on Rodgers, because Rodgers wants to run his offense, and the reality is Rodgers, really smart guy. Really smart quarterback, but as far as getting into a flow of an offense, understanding how to set things up, and not really understanding, I'm sure he understands, but effectively being able to set things up and be within the flow of a game and really get an offense clicking that can set stuff up and move effectively. It doesn't look like he's doing it at a high level, and the numbers speak for themselves on that. So they need to bring someone in who can kind of take the reins away from Rodgers and this offensive staff that's currently in there, take control of the offense, and establish a system that Rodgers has to run as opposed to Rodgers running the Aaron Rodgers offense. We saw it at the end of the Green Bay tenure with McCarthy. We saw it kind of go the other way with LaFleur, where LaFleur kind of took more control of the offense, and Rodgers had the best years of his career, back-to-back MVPs with Adams. So they need to get back to that. If Adams stays and resigns, Rodgers stays, doesn't retire, they're going to have a full offseason to work with each other. I think their combination can be deadly again. Rodgers and Garrett Wilson already look good. They're going to be even better next year if Rodgers stays and Garrett Wilson stays. Breece Hall, still a really good back. If they finally draft quality talent in the offense, so Woody Johnson, or if he becomes Ambassador Johnson and his brother takes over, if he can hire a good general manager that really understands acquisition of talent and understands how to get the guys they need to get. I'm not a professional in it, so I'm not going to tell them what to do, but someone that is a professional needs to go in there and get this thing figured out. Go in there, get interior offensive linemen, get tackles, bring in some guys that they can develop, get a coaching staff in there that can develop guys effectively, and start building. That's what you see these great franchises do. They're going to bring in support, and then they're going to build with young talent. So, and you're in a position where you still got a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers that I believe can still be great. He's not dumber all of a sudden now than he was 5 years ago. That's not the case. And he clearly has the arm talent. He can't extend plays like he used to, but he's clearly got the arm talent. He can clearly still make the throws and throw some absolute missiles. So I'm not super concerned about his arm going. I think he can still play quarterback at a high level within a good structure, but he can't be the guy that has as much control of the offense as it appears that it is. Maybe he'd be better as a play caller if he was on the sideline or in the box as opposed to being on the field. It's different for everyone, and I'm not saying that Rodgers is necessarily inept offensively, but clearly something's not working here. So you need another voice in the building that can get this stuff figured out, because Nathaniel Hackett's not doing it. The new guy, although doing better, he's not getting it done either. They need to get something figured out. They need something to get fixed right now. Mike Vrabel's going to go in there, establish a winning culture, change the tempo of that locker room, change the mood of that locker room, uplift it, and get them back to their winning ways. So I'd make a tough pitch for Mike Vrabel, and maybe Bill Belichick, although he's pretty old, he's still got several years left of coaching if he really wanted to. I know he wants the all-time win record. I expect him to be back coaching next year, so that could be an interesting addition as well. Would not be totally shocked if they do that. But long story short, we're not keeping the coaching staff we've got. We're going to clean house. We got to get someone in here who understands acquisition of talent. Rodgers needs to stay. You can't just continue to have a revolving door at quarterback. Keep him if he wants to stay, and try and build. Try and get someone young under there to learn for at least a year. And then if Rodgers is just straight up bad and washed next year as well, then we can go ahead and move on. But right now, I still have faith in Rodgers that he can go execute at a high level in the right situation. And despite the talent around him, I think the structure, the coaching, the system is just not a system that could be built to succeed for any quarterback right now. It just doesn't look good. Maybe more blame should be placed on Rodgers than I'm doing. Time will tell, or maybe it won't tell, and he'll just retire. We'll have to wait and see, but the Jets are a disaster, and I think it starts with Woody Johnson. That's all I got for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Leave a comment if you agree with me. If you think I'm just a Rodgers glazer and he's actually just a big cancer and he's the worst human ever, I guess you can feel free to comment that. I appreciate all of you. Smash that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Peace.